We got it. We did it, Lubie. We came through.
We did. Thank goodness.
Wow. I mean, that could not have been more exciting on Friday night. That was the
like a week
Panthers
ago.
victory. You know what it reminded me of? It really did. It reminded me of that whole Nick Wallenda thing when he was going over the Grand Canyon there in the tightrope and they misgauged the wind. And all of a sudden you get like the Santa Ana winds are kicking up and they've made their way over to Las Vegas. And this guy's trying to balance himself. Now, he was sort of attached to the thing. So it wasn't like he was going to go into the bottom of the abyss there and fall like 1,500 feet. It was kind of treacherous to watch as he was praying to God. And as we've often referenced, probably the most unusual aspect of that whole telecast was that Joel Osteen was assisting from a mental standpoint, supposedly Nick Wallenda, as he went out there and he was giving him confidence. And there were many God references like, oh, God. And he's in the middle of the Grand Canyon there, not looking too sure of himself, wearing a pair of like ballet slippers and holding a rod. But I think Joel Osteen was having his rod held by Wallenda's wife.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Keep going, Nick. Keep going. See, Joel Osteen, I mean, yeah, he's very good at what he does, I have to say. He's very good at what he does. True. When you watch those lectures, you start to believe that, you know what, maybe Jesus can come and save me. But I don't think so.
I don't know. That's a long shot.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Good morning, one and all. I mean, it's not a lot of, it's not an all yet, but good morning. And good morning, Andy. I didn't see you reference anything about last night, so I don't know where you put that, but I'm glad you won money. I wasn't really definitive about last night's game. I still think the Warriors will win the series in 5 or 6. I haven't changed that. I mean, the Warriors were the better team the entire night. They only played 3 quarters. I don't know what happened, where they were in the fourth quarter. Like, I guess they decided to go to like the Bay Area and watch the seals. I mean, or have a bread bowl with clam chowder or a lobster roll or a crab roll. I don't know what happened in the fourth quarter last night. I mean, the Warriors were the better team. I mean, anyone who watched that game can tell. Like, I'll tell you right now, I'll take Jordan Poole and Draymond Green and Wiggins. I mean, I'll name Otto Porter Jr. over anything the Celtics were throwing, and Tatum and Brown weren't scintillating. But you have to play 4 quarters. That it is a 4-quarter game. That is something that I learned young. I guess the 3-time champion, 6-time finals appearing Warriors didn't know that, but the Boston Celtics do. That's the one thing I will give them credit. I think they're like 3rd or 4th best team in the East. But they faced an injured Bucks, an injured Heat, a lunatic Nets, and they're now in the finals. The one thing I'll give them, they play hard the entire game. It's it's where the Heat's injuries got them, because when you're injured, you might be able to sum it up for like a quarter. And the Heat, that last game was like 2 to 3 minute stretches, and then they'd play 5 minutes of ass. The Celtics don't do that. The Celtics play hard the entire game. If it's Udoka, whoever you want to give it credit to, Stevens, the Boston mentality. The Celtics play hard the entire game. I don't think they're as talented as these other teams. I don't give a shit what Derek White's doing in these playoffs when he's left wide open, or old man Horford's doing when he's left wide open. When the 2 teams played hard, the Warriors were up 12. So that makes me feel confident in my belief of this series. I don't know what, supposedly the Warriors went to a zone. Whatever the Warriors did, it was stupid. And the fact that they didn't adjust back made no sense. Yeah, the last 4 minutes of that game. This is the Defo Show, by the way, without Defo, with Lubie, as you can tell, I'm lamenting. I'm still confident in my pick. That's why I said if I was gambling, I picked the Warriors in 6, because the Warriors do that. They had 8 turnovers in the first quarter. They've done it this whole tenure, even when they were their best, winning 73 games or had Durant. They go through these stretches where they play really sloppy, throwing lazy passes, not getting back on D. And it's not an injury like the Heat. It's not any of that. They just go through these. I don't know if it's that they're so good that they get. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to give some intangible excuse. But if you're watching the Warriors play, and if you watch them play these last 8 years, they do this. This is something. They go through these stretches where they're invincible. And every team does it. The NBA, there's runs. But the Celtics don't do it. Like, the Celtics don't beat themselves. That's one thing I'll give this team. Like, that's why you'll see them stay in these games, because they don't shoot themselves in the foot. The Heat were doing it, but I think a lot of that was the Heat were hurt. And when you're injured, you can only keep your energy up for so long. The Warriors aren't hurt. The Warriors are healthy. Like, they look good. Klay Thompson showed signs that he might not be himself yet, but he looks fine. Like, whatever, if there wasn't, Otto Porter Jr. last night made a bunch of threes that kept them in the game. They don't look hurt, the Warriors. That fourth quarter was an aberration that I didn't expect to see. We saw it from them versus the Mavs. We saw it from them versus the Grizzlies. But I presumed, okay, you're in the finals. You're at home. The national media, for some reason, has fallen in love with the Celtics team that is less talented, but heart and hustle, all that bullshit that, ESPN loves to spew at you. And sports commentators and fans always love to throw out things that, you can't really quantify. But if you watch the fourth quarter, you could. Like, the Celtics were getting out on offense, getting open, and hitting their open shots. The Warriors were not getting back on defense. They were not rotating on defense. And their offense was solid until the last 4 minutes when they couldn't hit the side of a barn. So I was very floored. I have buddies and everyone's trying to make this a series because I think they just are tired of these shit playoffs. So they've told themselves this is going to be a series. I guess it'll be a series now because the Warriors had the kind of game I didn't think they would. I thought the Celtics would win a game on their own. I thought they were good enough. Defense good enough. They do have a guy in Tatum that can go off. They do have a guy in Brown that's a legitimate all-star caliber player. That's enough to win you a game in the finals, and I thought they would. I didn't know if they'd get a second one. I didn't know if the Warriors would do what we've seen them do in these playoffs. Like, they should have swept the Mavs. But Luka's good enough that if the Warriors are sort of doing their lackadaisical thing, you can win. And they won 2 that way. Grizzlies didn't have Morant. And when there was a 3-1 series and you thought the Warriors would close out, that game 5 was in. And they still came back and made it interesting, but still lost and then closed it out in 6. So I'm like, yeah, but they're not going to do that in the finals, right? It's the finals. You're at home. They're new building. Who knows what the future is for this group? Well, all the crap I said was right and then wrong. Like, you saw in that third quarter when both teams were playing intense and that the Celtics couldn't hang. And that's what I thought would eventually. That's the thing is, I didn't think the Warriors would just blow them out of the water. Again, the Celtics play too hard and are well coached and have been deeper in the playoffs. And they're young, but they have enough veteran savvy that I didn't think they get blown out. I just thought the Warriors have more. The Warriors had more talent. I forgot about Otto Porter Jr. And Von Looney, who both played really well in the playoffs when they weren't injured. So to me, it's like, okay, there's just too much. Like, at some point, they're going to outlast them and pull away. And they did in the third quarter. And I was like, okay, cool. And I wasn't talking shit because you never know. But I was like, okay, that's what I thought. And I'm not a Warrior fan. I can give a shit about the Warriors. And I can't stand the Celtics, but it's not like I'd be cloud. I couldn't stand the LeBron teams, and I would give them their credit. The Lakers, you can hate a team as a fan, but you have to be honest about what they are. I've watched the Celtics. Like, Jason Tatum had 12 points. Like, a guy that's supposedly top 5. And it wasn't, the Warriors played good defense, but they're going to play good defense on him all series. He had 12 points. Like, Klay Thompson is the second dude, sometimes the third guy for that team. It's coming off 3 years of injuries. It's not himself. It's still at 15. Like, Tatum had 12 points, and people are going to say, well, it's going to be better. He should be. He had 12 points in a finals game. Like, that's why the Celtics don't scare me. Their best players are not on the same caliber as the Warriors' best players. And their role players, Pritchett, you're going to put Pritchard against Poole? Like, come on. Marcus Smart, dude's a legit defender. If you give him a wide open 3, he will nail the shit out of that. Smart, Derek White, Horford, you give them wide open 3s, they're going to make them. And I give them all the credit in the world because you know what? Plenty of guys, look at the Heat. The Heat got a bunch of wide open 3s in all their series, and they weren't hitting them. Injuries, whatever the reason is. So I give the Celtics credit. Like, I'm not trying to degrade the Celtics. I've watched basketball my whole life. You can see you can see where the talent is. Basketball is very easy. Football, it doesn't always equate because it's how a team works and, the offensive line, how they're blocking, and people don't think about that, but that's really the most important freaking thing. Basketball, you can see with your eyes. Andy and Defo talk about by 7 or 8, you knew the game. I don't know about that. I think you're simplifying it a little bit. But when you've watched your whole life, you can look at two teams and see who has more talent. Okay. However, as we've learned, and that's why we love sports. And the professor, when I thought the Heat were done in Game 6 because of how they played in Game 4 and 5 in the Eastern Conference Finals, reminded me, look, that's why we love sports. Yeah, where would my money go? Here. But there's a lot more into it than just what your eyes are telling you. And that third to fourth quarter showed you why the Celtics it had that second half in the regular season, why, even though they've had 7-game series, got to the finals, and why they won last night. They don't go away. You have to beat them. You have to play smart, play sound, and win. And the Warriors have this propensity to sort of, you can tell me I'm biased. You can tell me whatever you want. That's just sports mumbo jumbo. It might be. I honestly will own it. I'm just telling you, I watched the team collapse, and it wasn't because the Celtics are scary. I'm sorry, they're not scared of fucking Derek White and Al Horford and Peyton Pritchard. Jimmy Butler should be, because if not for Peyton Pritchard, Jimmy Butler would have won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and he would have won in 6. But the Warriors aren't, and that's the problem. Is you get this feeling sometime in sports, a team is too big for their britches. When you get to the finals, you shouldn't be that. And especially the way the media was trying to give the Celtics a legit shot. Like, that to me is what I was like, okay, the Warriors aren't going to take this team lightly. It's a freaking finals. Like, everyone's giving the Celtics a legit shot. Some people are actually picking the Celtics, which I can't even comprehend. And then the fourth quarter happened, and it was like, here it is. I was like, okay, it's now 5. All right, they'll wake up. They'll defend Al Horford because he's made the last 2 wide open threes. They'll defend Derek White because, they saw Derek White versus the Heat. And the second halves, Derek White did nothing because he played defense on him. But in the first halves, he killed the Heat. So they watch film, so they know that. No, okay, they don't know that. That's interesting. All right, well, Marcus Smart, the guy is a great defender, but he doesn't. Offense is sort of up and down, and he's very streaky. So they'll defend him because, Tatum's doing nothing. So they have Tatum on lock for the most part. Oh, no, they're not going to. Okay, it's now 2. Okay, they're losing. What the hell just happened? Like, it was really weird. Like, in that sports, you can analyze and you can throw it out there, but it isn't robots and it isn't science. It's human beings going out there playing a game, and that's why we love it. And when you pick strongly against a team and they win, that's why we hate it. So the Celtics are now up 1-0. They won 128-108. They totally demolished the Warriors in the fourth quarter. It was back and forth. It wasn't back and forth. There was a 12-point deficit that they had taken a lead. So it definitely wasn't back and forth. But the Warriors at least inversely hung around themselves and didn't get down until like the last 4 minutes when they couldn't. That's my problem with the 3-point shot is even when you have Steph Curry, don't just keep jacking up threes. Like, you're seeing this other team get open threes and hit them fine. But the Warriors weren't. The Celtics, again, don't give up. They will play. So you have to work. And the Warriors are like, we're just going to shoot stupid threes. And Jordan Poole and Curry and Thompson were jacking up these defended threes, breaking it, and the Celtics will go down and either get an easy layup or 3 guys will get wide open threes. And I'm watching this going, okay, what the fuck? Like, I wasn't trying to underestimate the Celtics, but it doesn't really matter what I feel. I'm not playing. Clearly, the Warriors have, and I don't understand why. So I don't get it, but I guess they're trying something. I don't know. I'm watching this game, and it's not my team, so I'm actually be able to be somewhat objective, outside of the fact that I've really dug in on this opinion. So when you do that, Defo and I've talked about this a long time, and Ian Eagle, who did sports radio before he became the prominent sports broadcaster that he is. He's probably top 5, I would say, in the game. Currently, and he's a dear friend of ours over the years. We talked about this a year or so ago, where Defo always makes fun of me how I'll like be wrong or I'll go down with the ship and he's like, yeah, but that's everyone sports talk. That's what it's based on, is you have to pick a side, which Defo told me early. and you have to write it out. Once you pick a side, that's the most annoying thing is when people they pick a side, and then when they're wrong, they don't admit it, they don't talk about it, and they act like they never did it, which that's just the most annoying thing. So you pick a side, you got to ride with it. And that's the problem is once you pick a side and ride with it, it becomes you, and all your objectivity goes out the window. So I'm trying to not have that happen, but I've dug into this opinion, and I believe it. I mean, and it's not a fan perspective. I'm watching the two teams. Like the Warriors still don't look like they've played a game together. Like you'll have had Clay or Curry or Green or Poole. Like they have yet to all come together and play a great game. So to me, it's like, shit, they're going to be scary whenever that happens. Well, we're still waiting for that. Like we're in the finals. We're through game one. The Celtics are up 1-0. People are talking about, well, if they don't win the next game, well, it's a must win. Well, duh. But they all should have been. It's the freaking finals. Like we make fun of the term. This is a pivotal game. They're all fucking pivotal. It's the goddamn NBA finals. Like, hello. So we wake up. We start anew. We do have great news in South Florida. Coco Gauff, the 18-year-old sensation who was the sensation at like 15, is in the finals of the French Open. She dispatched of Swiatek yesterday and is going to be playing Saturday in the French Open finals, which is super cool. The men's semis are today. Nadal will take on Zverev, and Cilic will take on Rude for your French Open fans. So that is cool that we have our South Florida eye to the French sky, and we'll definitely monitor that, and we'll talk about that. I'm sure Defo won't be here Monday, but I'm sure I will touch on it, and maybe we'll get Sarni on, who is our local. He keeps Mike Mayo honest on the lunchbox. He keeps me honest here, or we have to talk about. He wants to talk about Icelandic whale fishing. Any sport that exists, he watches, and he wants analysis on it. And I try to be honest and tell him that's never happening here, but I appreciate that he keeps throwing it at us. But yes, that's a big thing, and we're proud of her as South Floridians, and I'm stoked. Hopefully she can bring home the French Open title to South Florida. You had Tua speak up finally. It is funny how, like, not even the world, like how the sports world works. But I guess it's the world in general nowadays. It's okay. Teachers, we can't trust them to talk about history, even though they're teachers. We can't trust them to talk about sexuality, even though they're teachers. Like it's their job to teach, but we have to tell them what they can teach, how they can teach, and when they can teach. Okay, even though their job is to teach. So they should have credibility in their abilities to teach. They're schooled in it. Most of them have done it for a while. It's a thankless job. They don't get paid enough. So they're really doing it out of love. So if you're doing something out of love, you're probably really going to take it seriously. For the most part, not every teacher's great. I get it. But most of them are really good. And look, I do come from a family teacher. My mom taught my whole life. My sister's been teaching for over a decade. I taught in college. My cousin teaches. So I have a respect for teachers. Maybe not everyone on a certain side has. But they're way better than the state of Florida gives them credit. And most of our country gives them credit. Okay? But we don't trust them to do anything. But we want to give them guns. That makes zero sense. You just saw a bunch of police officers who were well-trained, had guns, and there were lots of them. And it was only one dude. And they made sure to not go near the one dude with guns, trained. So we want to give teachers who we don't trust to do the job that they're really good at. We don't trust them. We have to tell them literal what they can or can't say because we don't trust them. But now we want to give them a deadly weapon and don't care if they're trained because we trust them to do that. Okay, so you're not picking a lane. We all know what the reality is here, and you're just trying to avoid it because you get lots and lots of money from a really small organization that somehow has stolen the logic of an entire party, or at least the upper echelon of an entire party. Okay, well, that happens. We've seen it in politics, and sports is the same thing. The Tua thing is the most classic thing. Like the Ryan Tannehill debate was dumb. You can see what Ryan Tannehill was. We've seen what Ryan Tannehill is. There was, at the end, 7 freaking years, and now multiple years in Tennessee. The dude has tons of talent. He still won't be great. That's what's funny. Tons of talent, he'll be solid. Not a lot of talent, he sucks. And if he's okay talent, he's okay. That's what Ryan Tannehill was. We don't know what Tua is at all. I mean, we've seen with any talent what he can be at Alabama. We've seen with zero talent, zero faith, zero scheming that he can still be a top 20 quarterback. But it's like, okay, he can't win for like he can't win. Like the dude, OTAs, we all know don't matter. I don't care. You can hit bombs, you can throw ducks. I don't give a shit. Like I don't like you're literally not only they're not tackling, there's no line. There may not even be defensive backs like doing the bullshit defending. Like it's just a dude throwing the ball. I hope he can hit it. And if he doesn't, I don't actually care because it doesn't matter. But what's funny is he throws one bad ball that the dumbass Dolphins put out as a highlight, and everyone talks about it. The national media talks about it. The guy's throwing ducks. Good luck for Tyreek Hill. He's going to be waiting on punts. Okay. Well, if you're going to do that, then you got to stay there, right? Because now you're saying OTAs matter. Now you're saying what a guy does in a stupid ass bullshit practice matters. Okay, if you're going to do that, that's where you have to stay though, right? Because then now when he actually has defenders on him, no rush, he's not going to get tackled, but at least defenders there and he's throwing fucking dimes. He should get credit, right? Right? You're worrying about one underthrow that was in the middle of a lot of great throws that anyone locally was hearing, but one underthrow. Okay, so now the OTA matter is what you're telling me. Well, when in 2 days he throws 4 freaking monsters to both Waddle and Hill in stride, 50 yards plus, one over 60 yards, all in the air, in coverage, and the team is praising him, and you ask him about it, and he then defends himself because what else would a human do? You can't now say, oh, it's just OTAs. Oh, no, it's not Jalen Ramsey. Like, you can't do it. Because I agree with you. It is just OTAs. But I agreed with it on the underthrow and the dimes. I don't really care that he's throwing dimes in practice. We saw Tannehill do it. I don't care that he's throwing underthrows. But I'm consistent in that regard. If you're going to tell me that his underthrow matters, then you can't go the other way. But that's what I love. That's what the hater is a great thing because the hater can just do whatever it needs to make itself right, even though it's totally illogical, irrational, and just dumb. Oh, well, it's just, yeah, but you weren't saying that 2 weeks ago when it was a stupid ass underthrow that actually still caught the guy. And we've seen all Patrick Mahomes underthrow. We've seen Brady. We've seen all the great ones. Rodgers underthrow. It happens. It still caught the guy, but you were worried about the underthrow. That's fine. But then you got to give him credit when he's throwing freaking lasers down the field in the air with coverage in an actual more difficult practice in stride. Like pick a lane. No, we don't pick a lane. We just want to hate. Okay. So Tua spoke up yesterday, and good for him. He called out the Twitter warriors. And my favorite was, well, why is he so sensitive? Have you seen LeBron? LeBron's won titles. He's now the first official active athlete billionaire. LeBron's done everything. When he gets hated on, at least early or in the middle of his career, in the Miami days when he was the villain, he answered every goddamn hate. This is LeBron. Jordan, again, Michael Jordan, the greatest ever. And even before he won a title, people were calling him the greatest ever while he was like in his 6th year in the league. Well, you had Magic and Isaiah and Bird winning and Jordan not winning. They were already calling him the best ever. His Hall of Fame speech remembered when he didn't make it and remembered all the haters. But Tua defending himself against the haters, well, why is he so sensitive? Because he's a human? Hello? Kevin Durant is going to go down as a top 10 player ever, probably the best shooter ever, especially, I guess it's Curry, then him, then Clay and Ray Allen. I don't know what order you put it. And Kevin Durant literally has a backup Twitter account where he would respond to haters. But God forbid Tua in his 3rd year, like it's the funniest thing to me how we cover sports and our world at large. Like people just move the lane, move the goalpost constantly to try and be right. And it's like, okay, I'm not. I'm honest. I'm defending myself about my stupid ass opinion with the Warriors and the Celtics. But it's the exact same. It's at least the same opinion. I haven't changed it. I thought the Warriors would not slack the way we've seen them slack the last 8 years. I didn't think that they did. And if it's me not giving the Celtics credit, I'm sorry. The Celtics, that's their thing. They're not as talented. They're not as deep, but they play hard. The Heat learned that. The Bucks. The Bucks do that too. The Bucks play hard. They just were missing Middleton. The Warriors. This has been a thing. If you've watched them, they talk about it. Like, how the hell do they like? And their turnovers are the dumbest. Like, just throwing a ball behind the back, like it's and one. It's like, what are you doing? It's the finals, guys. Like, what? So I don't know. It was an interesting game. It was back and forth to a certain extent, and then it was just all Celtics in the fourth quarter, and they're up 1-0. And I still think it'll be a 5-6 game series again. If I was putting money on it, I would have gone 6. And then I didn't put money on it because it wasn't worth it. It was super chalky to put 6. 6 was like the prime, what everyone thought was going to happen. Warriors in 6, and even Warriors in 5 wasn't getting you. Like Warriors in a sweep, which I didn't think was going to happen, and it definitely can't happen. You weren't even getting a good number on that. So I was like, okay, the Warriors are expected to win. They're the favorite by Vegas's standards. For me to bet on it's dumb. I'm not that kind of a gambler. Like I bet when I think there's like an underdog that has a really good shot. Like in basketball, I've done it like 3 times in my life. So I wasn't putting money on this, but if you wanted me to give you my opinion for whatever the hell reason, I thought the Warriors would win in 6 if I was gambling. And I still think that the Celtics were going to win a game. I think it would be game 1. I thought the Warriors, after more than a week off, would come out guns a-blazing. And the third quarter, they did. And then the fourth quarter, they did not. And the Celtics did what we've seen them do the entire playoffs. Al Horford can't move, but if you give him an open 3, he's hitting it. I give him all the credit. Derek White, I never really heard of. And when I watch him, I'm like, who's this guy? But if you shade off of him to double up Jason Tatum, who has 12 points, he's going to hit the open 3. Marcus Smart has made a career of it, and the Celtics did it, and the Warriors didn't. So we'll see what happens. The game's not till Sunday, which I understand the NBA wants the playoffs to be 7 months, but like an extra day, every game there's an extra day. Like, not even with traveling. Game 2 is Sunday. Game 3 is Wednesday. Like, what are you doing, NBA? It's fine. The season can end. It's okay. Like, we'll talk about you. I know you're trying to do everything you can to make yourself matter compared to the NFL. You won't. The NFL's going to win. Like, we don't need 17 days. The finals doesn't have to be 3 weeks. Like, the finals being a month is like the stupidest thing. But whatever. The next game's Sunday. I expect to see the Warriors I thought we'd see last night. We got about a couple quarters. Clay had a ridiculous first quarter, but Draymond Green did nothing. He was horrendous. Klay Thompson was solid, but not great. Jordan Poole was not the guy that we have seen these playoffs in this regular season. Wiggins was pretty good. Otto Porter Jr., for a guy who'd been hurt, was just coming back, actually helped them out a lot. And he had 12 points and I think he was all threes. I think he made 4 threes. Like, Kevon Looney, who was supposedly having a great postseason, he was decent defensively, but he was weird and all. It was just a weird game, and that's the thing. Kerr and Spo are similar to me in this. Like, between games, are really good at adjustments. In the game, when the ship's falling, it feels like they don't do much. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Like, I'll give them credit. Like, the Celtics, no matter how bad they're getting killed in these games, they find a way to fight back. Do they win all the time? No, but they fight back. Like, the Warriors in that fourth quarter, it felt like there was no fight in them. And you saw that from the Heat, too, in those games. Now, maybe it was injury, whatever the reason. But, like, in some of those games, when they got down, you're like, okay, they'll at least make a run. No, they didn't make a run. That was the end of it. Last night, the Warriors had no fight in them in that fourth quarter, and it's sort of disgusting, and I don't know what the hell happened. This is a Degenerate Friday here on the Defo Show. No Defo, just Lubie coming up next. We will talk to a man who hates Boston a lot more than I do. I'm trying to talk on just sports, and he probably will talk on sports and more. And I'm sure he won't be happy about last night's result. The one and only Professor. We will have the Professor's top 5 big board of the week. It is hilarious. It is classic. And it is, whether he believes it or not, our favorite moment, our time of the week. Again, I don't know what that says about us, but it 100% is. Defo Mine. That's the one thing he mentioned that he's sad that he's going to miss. Not me. Not even you guys. Not this, but the Professor's top 5 big board. We will get to take part in that shortly. It was a game. I don't know what the hell the fourth quarter was, but you lose to the Celtics with Tatum having 12. That's not great. So we'll see what happens Sunday. We'll see what happens next with the Professor right here, the Defo Show. Without Defo, I am Lubie. More next.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched. Steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
How many gamblers did I bail out last weekend with my game of the year? $100 better made $10,000. A $500 better made $50,000. Well, I got 6 games on Sunday that I'm releasing absolutely free. These games are a burial, a blowout, human lock. You can bet your unborn children on these 6 games. Absolutely.
Whoa, I believe.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All righty, welcome back to the Defo Show. No Defo, just Lubie here. You're on Ion Channel, and this gentleman, you check him out each and every week at about, well, he's supposed to come on at 7:45, and then Defo does a Defo, so he comes on at like 8:15. But he is here early this week because I appreciate someone saving me from myself, and this gentleman does that like 6 times a week. So he's done that for like over a decade now, so I feel bad for him. Good morning, Mr. Ken Jacobsen. How you doing, my friend?
It's been a rough week. How about you, Lou? By the way, you got to play that clip even when Defo's not here. I thought I would get arrested from that for 1 week. Come on.
Even doesn't ask for that. I just play it because I know it annoys you.
Mr. 100-1 money line game of the year, jerk off. No, it's been a long week. Since we last spoke.
Yeah.
Well, not since we last spoke, but since we last spoke on the air, the Heat lost. The Heat season ended in not the best Heat game of all time. I mean, whatever. We can get to that. And then Boston wins in the NBA Finals. And I find out in the USFL that the Michigan Panthers not only benched Shea Patterson, they cut Shea Patterson. Like even Jeff Fisher got onto my USFL theory there. It's been rough, man. And now we're getting a tropical storm. Oh yeah, and then like I lost power for like a day last week. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a rough week, man.
Well, you're still here. The Heat aren't. So I forgot we haven't talked since the Heat lost. Last night threw me for a fucking loop. You and I have been sort of on the same page in this series, and every national media member has made it clear that the Celtics are the greatest team that's ever lived. And I couldn't understand. I just didn't understand it. Like, I watched them play. I'm like, that's not true. But I guess the Warriors believed it too in that fourth quarter last night because they treated Horford, Smart, and White like they were the fucking Celtics of the 80s. We can go to the Heat if you want, or last night. I'll let you pick. I'm a little.
I mean, then last night's fresh. We can talk about last night. I don't really think the game. I'm with Draymond Green. I don't think the game's that big a deal. Golden State was completely in control of the game into the fourth quarter. And then the Celtics got on a run, and it included a lot of. I mean, like Al Horford, 75% shooting from the 3-point line. Golden State did not play particularly well. Steph Curry was amazing in the first quarter and really kind of average after that. Klay Thompson has been kind of a bust. Jordan Poole was a bust in this game. It wasn't an exceptionally well-played game it wasn't a great played game for Boston either, because Jason Tatum was pure garbage
Yep.
in that game. But the rest of the Celtics sort of came through there. So
Yep.
what are you going to do? It happens. And if as a Golden State fan / Boston hater, mostly the latter, I'm not worried about it at this point. I'll be worried about it if they get the game Sunday, but I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's a buddy of mine who's trying to make this a series, and I said, look, you're in agreement with the rest of the national media. That's fine. When I take everything into account, the Warriors are better at everything. So to me, to think that's going to go 7, it's hard for me to believe that. And I don't feel different at all about the series. I expected the Celtics to at least win a game.
Okay, I'm going to differ with you here. And as much as I hate to give the Boston Celtics credit for anything, one area the Warriors are not as good as they are not as good on the road as the Boston Celtics have been. The Boston Celtics have been like historically good on the road in these playoffs. And it again showed up last night. So, once again, they took advantage. You got to give them credit where it's due. And, they played a great game. And, this is sort of the thing you see in playoff series is those secondary guys, who's the group that's going to step up. And last night it was Boston. So we shall see. I mean, if you're the Warriors, there's a lot to build on. But if you're
not crying and they're the Warriors, they've been here.
If you're Boston, you also have hope because you hope Tatum's not going to be, garbage for the whole series. So could go either way. I'm personally ready to drop Derek White into the ocean if we ever see him down here.
Like, what the
Sick
fuck?
of his face watching
it.
these playoffs. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, one thing you got to give Pop credit. Like Pop gets these guys ready, these second-tier guys, to go on from San Antonio. I mean, and we've seen it time and time again, to go on from San Antonio and be really good. So, hey, probably the greatest coach of our generation. So, once again, give him credit for developing Derek White with along of what's becoming really since the Claw become like a long list of guys who were not super highly regarded coming into the NBA who have become I'm not saying he's Kawhi Leonard or anything like that, but you look at the list and Pop has really prepped a lot of dudes to go on to be really good NBA players once they leave the Spurs.
When he's done the thing with the coaches, like that's where I give Udoka, where Spo and Kerr weren't able to get his guys to play entire games. Whatever you want to say about the Celtics, and I've been on it consistent about this, they play hard the entire game. Like they don't have these 4-minute lapses where you have 6 turnovers, where you saw with the Heat, whether it was injuries or not. And that fourth quarter was the Warriors being lazy.
Well, they do, but weirdly, again, they have them at home. They don't have them on the road. They manage to really fight every minute on the road, and it's a weird thing. But, we see weird things happen all the time in sports. So, we'll see how this series plays out. By the way, I heard you guys talking about it last segment. I don't mind the stretching out the NBA Finals. As far as I'm going to stretch it out to August till the NFL preseason starts. Because once the NBA Finals and the USFL are over, I don't want to hear from Major League Baseball. I don't care about the women's softball tournament. Like, it is the total dead zone for me, middle of summer. And it's 1,000 degrees down here, so it's not like I'm going to go outside and, enjoy myself that way. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, play like one game a week, and it works for me.
You're like, make it 2 months. That's fine. I'm not a fan of that, as anyone who was listening heard, but I get it. It's the dead zone for me too. I haven't cared about baseball in like a decade, so I totally get it. It's just annoying because
the Marlins make it hard to care about baseball.
The Marlins made it impossible to care about. Marlins and the Panthers. That's why you never even got into hockey, and I sort of did because they caught me that one year. And the Marlins have had 2 years, and every other year sucked. So it's ruined that entire sport for a lot of South Floridians. But yeah, I just, that extra day is annoying because I'm ready to see the Warriors. Like if they had won, I probably wouldn't give a shit. But the fact that they lost and the last taste in my mouth is that freaking fourth quarter, watching Al Horford drain like 3 threes and Derek White, as I'm like, see, he sucks, draining 3 of like 4 threes.
I feel like you're taking this a lot harder than I am, and it's bizarre because certainly between the two of us, I'm the bigger Boston hater. But I guess, again, this didn't shake me in terms of the way I think the finals are going to go. So
I don't think it's going to change anything. I just have been very loud in how I feel. So when you see
I mean, you're loud about whether you're having fries or coleslaw with your burger. So that's not really a new development when it comes to you.
So I get defensive. So that's what that is.
Yeah. You're all like, well, no, see, the mac and cheese is a better pick than the fries. The mac and cheese is clearly superior.
Yeah, I analyze my food.
So, I mean, like,
everyone does that.
I feel like when you're that loud and out there with all of your opinions, you can't take them too personally when they bite you.
Well, I'll have to learn that. I haven't learned that one yet. This is the General Friday here at the Defo Show. No Defo, just me, Lubie. We have the professor here. Okay, so you alluded to something that some people may not realize, and I actually think that's the toughest thing for you of the week in the power.
Shea Patterson being benched,
Heat going down, and the Celtics winning a game one. None of those are things you wanted to see, but you had found, and I said this last week, and I meant it. It wasn't a theory anymore to me. It had become a fact. Like, whatever the lines were, you were going to win as long as you win against Shea Patterson. And then I get a text from you, what was it, Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
And I'm like, oh no, what now? You're like, Shea Patterson. I'm like, okay, he sucks. No, he's not playing. I'm like, oh no.
Right. And we were laying 4.5 and 1 by 4. I feel 100% like if Shea Patterson's in that game, we're definitely getting that extra point. Maybe even an extra touchdown. Yeah.
Okay, so anyone who has no
devastating. And again, Jeff Fisher figured it out, and it's a quarterback. Like, if Jeff Fisher figures it out, it's been there the whole time. It takes a lot. I mean, this is the Jeff Fisher who played Kerry Collins that entire season and then went down hard. I mean, yeah.
So anyway, Shea Patterson was a guy that we've joked about this, but I'm actually, since we have some time, I'm going to explain a little bit. The reason it's so funny about this series, because Shea Patterson was a huge recruit coming out of high school. Shea Patterson was a 5-star that Michigan was drooling to get, and then Ole Miss was giddy to get as a transfer. And he obviously sucked at both places. I don't even know if he caught on anywhere in the NFL. I don't remember hearing him even in a training camp.
I mean, he ended up in the USFL, so I'm assuming no, he did not.
So he's in the USFL, and he was bad in the USFL, and Ken paid attention to this and was winning with it. And last week, he did not only didn't play, they actually were like, all right, screw this, get the hell out of here. And he's now not even in the league anymore right now. So
Michigan cut him. Okay. And then the team Michigan was playing last week, New Orleans signed him to be the third-team quarterback.
Oh,
so he was cut and then signed to be the third-team quarterback for a different team.
Well, he wasn't on the team Ken bet on, or he was on the team Ken bet on, actually.
Yes.
That's what happened.
And I was behind the information on all of this.
So, and this is the USFL, by the way. If none of you are like, USFL. Yes, it's on they're playing it like Fridays and I guess Sundays, playing it on the weekends. And I've heard it's still doing decent ratings and people are interested because
it is. It's actually doing surprisingly good television ratings, which
did the number come out for last night? Did the number come out for last night yet? Because
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, I'm curious because I bet you it was big because that game was close enough for most of it that I think. Look, it's funny because we're seeing sports ratings go down over COVID to a way that people were likening it not to COVID, but likening it to the new world, and people don't care. But this last few months, we've seen sports ratings skyrocket. So, which I think is great. I mean, for us in this world, it's what we want. But it's just curious. It's interesting. I'm trying to figure out why that is. Like, are we just happy that we have sports back? Are our lives normal-ish where we're not worried about, catching a virus and dying? Like, it's just interesting that we're seeing the sports ratings like skyrocket, like anything sports. I think even baseball is doing decent. Like, I think ratings are just up everywhere. And it's interesting to me for why.
It's an interesting phenomenon. I really have no explanation. We talked about it a little bit last week, that the NBA playoff ratings are actually way up this year for the playoffs. And I don't understand it because we've talked about it. The NBA playoffs have not been good games for the most part. It's been kind of a bad NBA playoffs overall. There's been some competitive series, but not necessarily a great one.
Now, maybe Mayo brings up a good point on this Degenerate Friday.
Okay, which is
sports betting. I didn't think about sports gambling, and sports gambling is so prominent.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, I don't know this new access and to some degree media blitz, because you can't watch, really forgetting a game, you can't watch cartoons without seeing like 5 ads for various betting apps around the country. So possibly that could have something to do with it. Maybe we've I don't really feel like this is necessarily a good thing. Maybe we like spawned a new generation of sports gamblers. I mean, for us, that's a good thing. But for society, I'm not sure how great that is. Possibly. I like I said, I really don't have a rational explanation for what's going on. Because again, the quality of the NBA playoffs has not been high this year. I would say honestly, you go back and you watch those games that got played in the bubble, and the bubble playoffs I thought was a consistently very good series of games. This has generally not been. You've had, like I said, a couple of highly competitive series, both involving the Boston Celtics. First the Celtics Bucks and then the Celtics Heat. But none of those were great series. They were kind of a series of sloppy games that went one way and then went the other way. Again, I can't explain it, but I'm glad to see it. It's certainly TNT and ESPN are glad to see it. Again, maybe it could be connected. I don't know.
I'm hoping. I'm just hoping it's connected, because that means it might not be a trend. It might not be.
It won't matter here in Florida, of course, because freaking Ohio announced this week that they will have legalized sports gambling across the state, and all the apps and all the companies are going in January. Instead, yesterday we get Ron DeSantis freaking worrying about the Tampa Bay Rays, saying something about gun control that he didn't like, so he's going to deny their stadium. But how about fixing that Seminole Compact and making it legal and getting Florida involved with this trend that the rest of the country, even Ohio, okay, which is, in terms of their history, very similar to Florida in terms of having screwed up politics. How about we get that fixed and not worry? And by the way, I will tell you, while I don't like the reason he did it, bottom line, I got no problem with Ron DeSantis blocking the $35 million to the Tampa Bay Rays stadium, because that stadium is a complete disaster, and anything you do to it is just putting lipstick on a pig. And I say, let it fall to the ground, and we'll figure out and move on from there. And if that means the Tampa Bay Rays move, I don't care. I have no statewide pride in the Tampa Bay Rays. They're the Walmart of, and honestly, their stadium looks like if Walmart built a sports stadium. Yes. So again, I don't have any problem with blocking this welfare for billionaires, as our friend Billy Corbin has time and time again. I have no problem with eliminating public financing from all stadiums, as far as I'm concerned. It's the reason you did it. Like you're so petty. The Rays did a tweet about gun control, and you're like, well, we're not going to have that in Florida. No $35 million for you. How insane is that? Like I said, stop worrying about appealing to freaking OAN and Newsmax and get the gambling compact done. You jerk off.
Yeah, well,
we're going to be behind Alabama on this.
Yeah, we're behind Mississippi. You can't tell Mississippi.
We're already. I'm saying we're going to be like the last one.
I mean, these are states, Louisiana, whatever, that are pretty far into that direction. Okay.
Yes.
We did this a long time ago. They didn't even bat an eye at it. So it's like, hello.
Well, and here's the thing. The illegal compact you signed, which anybody who paid attention knew was legal, knew was going down. Everybody supported it. Left, right, middle. We all liked it. There were just those of us who had observed it and knew, like, this is going to be gone in a month the minute it hits the court. So let's get that fixed. There's obviously a mandate for it. Again, even freaking Ohio can pass it. And if you looked at the roster of politicians, it's like Jim Jordan and that jerk off who wrote Hillbilly Elegy is going to probably be a senator or whatever. Like, their politicians are just as bad, even not even worse than our politicians. So let's get this done, DeSantis in Florida.
Yeah.
And stop worrying about what the Tampa Bay Rays say about gun control. Who the hell cares what the Tampa Bay Rays say about anything?
They're like the one team in sports that wins every year and no one knows.
No one pays attention. Like, honestly, if this
And every
story
year
hadn't
it
happened in hand block, I would have no idea that the Tampa Bay Rays did a tweet about gun control. You know why? Because like everybody else, I don't pay any attention to anything the Tampa Bay Rays say ever. You actually brought attention to the fact that the Tampa Bay Rays had issued this gun control statement. That's really stupid.
Well, that's a whole nother.
And again, I have no problem blocking the stadium money.
Yeah,
I don't want public money to go to any stadium, and I particularly don't want to go to that stadium because you can't. You can put $3.5 billion into that stadium, and it's still going to be a giant pile of garbage.
Well, no, it's like, look, you give the Marlins a new stadium for why? So now, this is actually worse. You're going to try and fix a stadium that's ass.
Right.
I've been there. It's horrendous.
And look, I was a huge Orange Bowl fan, but like those last 5 years when they were renovate the Orange Bowl, fix up the Orange Bowl. No, you can't fix. Like it had fallen to beyond repair. You have to let the patient die sometimes. And I have to feel the people of Tampa Bay feel that way about that stadium because that stadium's pure garbage.
No, that's why they don't.
You were there with us. It was,
that seems bad.
It's awful. So again, no problem not funding it. No problem not repairing it. I would let it rot to the ground. If I were the city of Tampa, I would actually hope a hurricane hits it and collect the insurance money.
Like root for it.
or like Ray Liotta and Joe Pesci and Goodfellas, I would staple bags of gasoline to the roof and set it on fire and commit a little insurance fraud. But again, the reason behind it, really, really stupid. But this is what we do in Florida.
Florida somehow is like, Florida wasn't always this bad. They weren't, I don't know if they were ever great, but we were like middle of the pack most of my life. And the last, 20 years, we were like, nah, we're going to go for it. We want to really be bad.
And again, we do the stupidest stuff. Like, other states are now making piles of money off weed. We're still fighting about weed. Again, it's a long over discussion. And again, the gambling thing again it's over. Like that, it's not a debate anymore. Every state is now embracing it except us.
That's really stupid. But something that's not stupid is Professor's top 5 big board of the week. Before we get there, do you have a USFL? I know that they've broken your heart with the Shea Patterson, but you've still been doing well, at least breaking 500 every week, and you're way up on the season so far. Do you have any? I know you need a little extra time. Your top 5 this week. You couldn't even get it down. You did your best to get it down to 5. So I want to make sure you have your allotment of time for that.
Oh, we got plenty of time.
Do you have a USFL? Do you have anything USFL steam that you want to throw out there?
Looking at the numbers here, honestly, it's again very difficult after last week. But I would look at New Jersey, even though they're laying 9 to Pittsburgh. We talked about Pittsburgh over and over again. Their offense kind of lame. New Jersey coming on, particularly with the running game as the season goes along. So I would lean a little towards New Jersey -9. Definitely tomorrow, the afternoon game, you got Birmingham, best team in the league, laying 3 to the New Orleans Breakers. I would definitely look at Birmingham to cover that with New Orleans. Actually, pretty good at moving the football, but they also turn it over a ton. So I would look for them to bite them. And then you go into the Sunday games. You got Tampa Bay and Houston and Michigan and Philadelphia. I wouldn't be afraid to go against Michigan, even with Shea Patterson being gone there. Philadelphia's a pretty solid team. So I think they're the one with the kid from Florida State and FAU, DeAndre. The one who beat the girl up at the bar in Florida State. I think they're laying 5.5 there. That's, again, pretty solid play. Again, without Shea Patterson being involved, I'm much less confident than I was last week. But we'll see how it goes this week.
This is the Defo Show. No Defo, just Lubie. We have the Professor. Coming up next, we will have the Professor's Big Board Top 5. Been geeked up about this all week long as he sort of let me in behind the curtain. He told me he's pushing the envelope. I thought that's the point of the thing. So coming up next, our favorite time of the week. I'm not sure if it's yours, but if you watch, it will become your favorite time of at least the Defo Show week with Lubie. Coming up next right here, Ion Channel. Professor Lubie, Defo is alive and well and be back Tuesday, and we'll be back right after this.
Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. You're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. Good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business, and the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. 7 to 10 times more money recovered with a public adjuster than if you went on your own. If there's no recovery, there's no fee. Before you call your insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't get your question.
You were a coach that you coached all kinds of teams. You had teams that...
Hey, say it in English. That got it?
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All righty, welcome back here. The Defo Show, no Defo, just Lubie. We now have the best time of the week, at least for those who watch and listen to the show. The Professor's world famous big board top 5 of the week is on tap. Each and every week, he outdoes himself, has us cringing while laughing hysterically at the same time, which I think is the greatest combination you can say about a segment. I turn the floor over to you, sir. I'm waiting with bated breath. The Professor.
Bated breath. That's an interesting one for what the topic is this week, Lubes. So we've got this whole, and we don't get political on this show, but we're going to get a little political this week. Because Lubie was mentioning teachers earlier, and apparently now in Florida, teachers aren't allowed to, tell their students that they're gay. If students see a picture of them and their partner, they don't want them talking about that because it grooms the children. But then at the same time, people who are of that same political bent, let's say the conservative movement, they're worried about their children. They're worried about grooming their children. But at the same time, as of this week, they have embraced a certain movie franchise that is about as groomerific as has ever been put to film. And that's the topic of this week's big board, because I feel like it's time we had an honest discussion about this movie. Yeah, it's unabashedly pro-American. It's anti-woke. It's this, it's that, it's conservative talking point this, it's Sean Hannity that. No, let's talk about the facts, and that's this week's big board, which is the big board of Top Gun, the most homoerotic movie ever made. And you're going to say, well, we've heard this before. It's not true. You're going to make stuff up. That's the reason we need a couple of bonus slides here, because we need you to start this. Your memory may have faded a bit because it's been a long time. My memory even faded. So we need to take a couple of pieces of dialogue right up at the top. These are lines directly from the movie. You could Google them yourselves. You can find the scenes. They're very easy to start. About 7 minutes into the movie, you have the colonel of the ship that Maverick and Goose are on. And he's upset with Maverick and Goose because they've buzzed the tower. And what is his reaction to this? He gets hit with a cup of coffee and he says, "That's twice. I want some butts." Now, I don't know about you, Lubie. I grew up with male teachers who were, of that drill sergeant type. I grew up with coaches who were of that, Bobby Knight era. Never once did I hear the phrase, "I want some butts." I think that's very clear. And
Yes.
Demonstrating right off the top that there's going to be a certain theme to that movie, and that's, I wouldn't worry about it, officer, sir. You're not alone in this. pretty clearly about 80% of the cast of this movie wants some butts.
I'm sorry. If anyone,
However,
go ahead. That's 5. This
go
is
ahead.
number
Sorry.
5, I guess.
No, this is a bonus one. This isn't
This
even
is
number
honorable
5.
mention.
Yes. However, if that you're going to say, Ken, that could be read a lot of ways. That's not really him literally saying he wants to have, he wants to sodomize some butts. It's
Yes.
just him saying he wants to kick some ass. I get
Yes.
it. If that's a
Yes.
little too subtle to you, if that's a little too vague for you, there's the next line, which comes about 10 minutes later in the movie. And this, I think, really solidifies right up front, whether you want to deny it or not, what this movie's all about. That is, they're having their first pilots meeting at Top Gun. They're displaying Jester, who is one of the pilots instructors, displaying footage from the Vietnam War and why they founded Top Gun, because Top Gun pilots had lost their dogfighting skills. And one of the pilots leans into this Rio, his radio intercept officer, and says, "This is giving me a hard-on." And the radio intercept officer, instead of saying, you know, dude, that's weird, I don't really want to have a conversation about your erection during this introductory meeting, he leans in and says, quote, "Don't tease me." I don't feel like that's a normal reaction to your pilot telling you that he now has an erection. I feel like Top Gun is really clearly established what it's really all about right here with this line. And again, it's very early on in the movie. It's telling you what this movie is. So again, if you don't believe me on this, you think I'm making this up, Google Top Gun butts and Top Gun hard on, and they will take you directly to the scene on YouTube. This is exact dialogue from the movie.
Look, and I actually don't need to explain anything away, but I'll throw it out there just so people understand where we're coming from. We actually don't care if people are homosexual, good for you. But the point is, people fight this theory. Like, I've heard of this. I've heard of this before I met you. Like, the Top Gun is the most homoerotic movie ever is a well-known thought, and there's a whole bunch of people that do that's locker room talk. What do you mean? And I'm like, no, it ain't. I've never heard anything.
Never once in a locker room talk has a dude told me he's getting a hard on.
Never.
And if he did, I feel like that would be problematic.
I'd be like, well, okay.
And number 2, more importantly, again, people want to throw teachers in jail for grooming their children, and yet the same people that want to show their children Top Gun that's the most American thing possible. I'm not saying it's not American. It's very American, but it's also very homoerotic. Anyway, we wanted to build the base with those two pieces of dialogue, and that takes us to number 5. Again, very early in the movie, what happens? A bunch of guys sing love songs to each other in a bar. And you're going to say, Ken, they weren't singing love songs to each other. They were singing love songs to Kelly McGillis. There's like 30 dudes and one chick, and 2 lines into the song, she brings on to Maverick and establishes she's going to be with Maverick.
Yeah, exactly.
So who are the rest of the dudes singing to? They're singing to each other. And it's worth noting, the only line of the song that is emphasized after Maverick puts down the microphone and all the other dudes to sing is the guy comes in and sings, "Baby, baby, I'll get down on my knees for you." I feel like that line was very intentionally used within the context. Look, you and I have been to a lot of bars. I've done a lot of weird things in bars. I've screamed at TVs in bars. I've gotten fights about my weird theories in bars. Yep. I have never once started singing love songs to a bunch of dudes in a bar. I feel like that's very intentional.
100%. Yeah. I mean, there's no arguing. That's why.
And honestly, I'm not that far removed from the age group that this "You've Lost That Loving Feeling" was not that big a hit with people of this age. I don't know how all these dudes know the lyrics to this song, much less are going to break out to it in a bar full of dudes singing to each other. I mean, it's not quite singing show tunes to each other, but it's not that far from it.
What dude sings "You've Lost That Loving Feeling"? Let alone a group of them. Now, I think you're totally
to a bunch of other dudes. Again, I feel like it's very clear where this movie's going.
Yes.
And that takes us to, we now have the developing relationship between Maverick and Kelly McGillis. I believe her name in the movie is Charlie.
She was great.
And they're about to have a date. But before Maverick can go out on a date with Kelly McGillis, he's got to warm himself up. He's got to get himself excited for this date. So what does he do? He goes and oils himself up with baby oil and then goes plays a bunch of beach volleyball with dudes in jean shorts. Now, maybe these guys take their baby oil beach volleyball very seriously, and that's why they're always touching and hugging each other in this scene. I don't know. Maybe that was supposed to be the message there. But it's worth noting that even when this movie came out in 1986, movie critic Pauline Kael referred to the volleyball scene as the most glorious display of homoeroticism ever put to film. I find it hard to disagree. But Maverick, of course, has to go. You know, he's got a date that night. I know when I have a date, I like to slather myself up in baby oil.
Go play volleyball with other
And
dudes.
go strip and play volleyball with Val Kilmer in jean shorts.
That's so,
Go back and watch the scene yourself. Just be aware of the subtext that's going on, because I don't feel like this. People feel like this movie accidentally. They were trying to do 80s macho, and 80s macho was kind of weird. I don't feel like this was an accident at all. And here's part of the reason why, and this will be our 4A slide. So Maverick goes and gets himself excited by oiling up and going out with a bunch of shirtless dudes in jean shorts on the beach. Then he goes and meets Kelly McGillis and refuses to sleep with her. But Kelly McGillis is really worked up, and she's got to seduce Maverick. So what does she do? Number 4A, she dresses up like a dude, goes into the men's barracks, and seduces Maverick. Because she knows to get to Maverick, she's got to hide all her hair under her baseball cap, put on a big, bulky fighter jacket, and then just to be sure that, you know, Maverick can get it working, she has to hold a big pile of folders over her breasts so that Maverick can maybe imagine that there's not breasts there, but rather Iceman's pecs underneath those folders. And then they finally have sex with each other after she's dressed up like a dude and broken into the men's barracks. Again, I don't feel like this movie's being subtle.
No.
But if you do feel like being subtle, after Goose has died, the big climactic scene, what happens? Maverick goes and reconciles with the rest of the group at Top Gun, and he does so at, you tell me, I've been to some graduations. I've never seen a graduation, be it high school, be it college, that looked this much like a wedding. Everybody's dressed up in white except these guys on the left who have white shirts with black pants. I don't know about you. That looks a lot like groomsmen to me. There are silver platters everywhere. Who the hell breaks out the fine silver for their graduation day? Look at it with those lattices at a pool. Who holds a graduation there? Again, you draw your own conclusions, but that doesn't look like a graduation ceremony to me. That looks like a wedding. And I'm just going to say, because all dudes, it's kind of got to be a gay wedding, doesn't it? So in a lot of ways, Top Gun is a very, very progressive movie.
I was going to say.
They were throwing out gay marriage long before gay marriage. I mean, this is 1986, folks. Gay marriage long before gay marriage was a thing. And we just want to give you a close-up so you're not confused. After they've had their ceremony, look at them. Champagne buckets, fine silver. The one random dude in black, everybody else all in white.
It's all guys.
You tell me, does this look like a graduation to you?
Yeah,
you
like
ever seen this with formal wear at a graduation?
Oh, and all isn't there usually wives there and girlfriends and children and parents?
Right.
Like it's just guys.
All dudes dressed in white, eating off of silver platters. I feel like, I'm going to be honest, I feel like there have been actual gay weddings that were not nearly as homoerotic as the graduation in Top Gun.
Like it's just.
I feel like there have been gay weddings that have been a lot more sloppy and butch than the graduation scene in Top Gun.
Oh my God. And again,
now, for those of you who haven't seen the sequel and you're asking yourself, Ken, is the sequel like this? Is the sequel? It's not as blatant. I'm gonna tell you up front. It's not as in your face with it. There's no pilots talking about getting hard-ons with each other. Nobody's screaming about how they want some butts. But there is one thing that goes on in this movie. Maverick is now in love with Jennifer Connelly. I don't blame him for that. I'm in love with
She's
Jennifer
great. She's
Connelly. I
delightful.
have been for like 30 years. Like, Jennifer Connelly's gorgeous. Who wouldn't want to bone Jennifer Connelly?
There you go.
But it's Maverick. So in order to psych himself up to go have sex with Jennifer Connelly, he's got to play some shirtless football on the beach with oiled up dudes in jean shorts. And because most of Maverick's friends are now a little bit older and not quite as buff, he's got to do it with a bunch of young dudes.
Young
too.
guys. He's got to do the young
Yeah,
guys. Too.
including Goose's son in the middle there. Got to lather on that baby oil and head down to the beach for some shirtless football and jean shorts. I don't know what to say. Like,
I've never done any of this. You grew up in the 80s. Did you guys do this? Like, when we played football, but we had, I guess if you're in your bathing suit, but like,
I've never once lathered on baby oil to play any sport ever.
Yeah.
No, not once. Now, I get it. Bodybuilders do it. I was never a bodybuilder. So I guess if they greased themselves up and then went and did some bodybuilding show competition, that would actually make a little sense. But no, I never slathered on the baby oil to go play beach football. It strikes me as a little odd. And I also haven't owned a pair of jean shorts in like 50 years.
That was good. Well, that's my thing is, at least you're on the beach, you're going in the water, you're wearing a bathing suit. If you're wearing jean shorts, then
I feel like that sends a pretty strong message. And I have nothing against jean shorts, the little itty bitty jeans. And again, go back and watch the volleyball scene. It's not just jean shorts, it's the little itty bitty John Stockton style jean shorts. We know some women who look really good in those jean shorts. Yes. I appreciate them. Tremendous, but I don't want to play beach volleyball with a bunch of dudes wearing itty bitty John Stockton style jean shorts.
Well, that's my thing.
If the Fab Five did anything great for America, it was turning American men onto the long shorts. We didn't need the itty bitty jean shorts.
That's just my thing. Like,
unless you're Maverick, in which case, in order to have sex with Jennifer Connelly, first you got to warm yourself up by playing some beach football with dudes in baby oil and jean shorts.
Alrighty.
So the spirit of Top Gun does continue in Top Gun Maverick. Yes. And by the way, if you're looking at Miles Teller in the middle there and saying, wow, with that mustache and being greased up, he kind of looks like Goose in the original. He kind of looks like the character who's supposed to be his dad in the original. I'm going to throw out a different proposal there. He looks a little bit more like the leather guy from the Village People. He does. Like Goose. I'm just saying. The resemblance to the leather guy from the Village People, a little bit stronger than the resemblance to Goose in the first Top Gun. And he does have one of those little hats. I don't have the picture with the hat. I couldn't find it. But there is a scene where he's wearing his Navy pilot hat, which is very similar to the leather from the Village People hat. So that's number 2A.
Okay.
And that brings us to number 1.
I don't think it'd be 1, but go on.
If you're not yet convinced, I don't even know what to say about this. This is, of course, the whole original Top Gun. Really, the strongest relationship wasn't Maverick and Charlie, or even Maverick and Goose. It was Maverick and Iceman.
Iceman, yep.
And whatever the hell Iceman is saying here, where he does the little bite thing while they are so close, it's very uncomfortable. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, he kind of seems to show, like, if you're dangerous, because this is the scene. Maverick, you're dangerous. You're right, Iceman. I am dangerous. Maverick, Iceman seems to be saying, if you're dangerous with me, I'm going to bite it off. And that seems to be the pretty strong implication. But that's not really what I'm driving at.
Okay.
What I'm really driving at is go back, watch the original movie, and notice that every single time Maverick and Iceman talk to each other, there's really no sense of personal space. Like, they are always face to face and chest to chest, right up against each other. These are two men who have an unusual level of comfort when it comes to personal space and proximity. I don't have that feeling with anybody. If anybody's constantly on my face, much less comes up to my face and does that bitey thing that we're seeing Val Kilmer doing right here, I'm going to be very uncomfortable. I'm going to feel like there's a certain tension in the air that isn't going to make me feel good in this situation, particularly in the locker room. So draw your own conclusions, but this is our case that we have been building for Top Gun being the most homoerotic movie ever made.
Well, I don't even think it's a case. It's just like your Shea Patterson theory. I mean, I think it's well known. I think it's a standard at this point, and I think it's a fact. I don't think it's a theory. I mean, I've heard this, and you've said this since I've known you, but I've heard this since before you. Like anyone who watched it, and it's not about being uncomfortable. You know, we've seen actual gay movies out and win awards.
All of which were not. Brokeback Mountain.
Brokeback Mountain
wasn't as homoerotic as Top Gun.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not about being gay. It's fine. It is. There's movies, and we're very open-minded, so it's cool. It's just there's a certain section of the population that stands up against open-mindedness and homosexuality, yet they fully embrace this movie that is clearly giving you a strong message.
Again, we've been talking about teachers and groomers. This is the most groomer thing of what makes the gay lifestyle look more glamorous than Top Gun.
Yes, and they make it glamorous.
The almost elite of the Navy pilots are all super, super gay with each other. So if you're worried about grooming, the hell are you letting your kids watch Top Gun? And I keep hearing it's the greatest family movie, it's the biggest summer blockbuster, blah, blah, blah. I got no problem with that. I got no problem with homosexual couples. I got no problem with homoerotic art. I'm just saying, if we're really that worried about grooming, then why the hell are you promoting Top Gun? Because again, nothing has ever glamorized the homoerotic lifestyle like Top Gun has. And again, go back to those early pieces of dialogue. I don't think it's an accident. I think this was very intentionally made to be homoerotic.
Well, it's consistent
you have a dude at the beginning of the movie screaming, "I want some butts." Yes, everybody wants some butts in this movie.
Hello.
It's the whole theme of the movie is how badly everybody wants butts. They don't even they just come out and say it. They don't even tiptoe around it. They're not subtle.
No. It's a consistent theme throughout. It wasn't like a one-time thing where Defo and I will say lines once in a while that we realize are double entendres, and we laugh and we're like, "Oh, we didn't mean that." Like, it's consistent throughout the movie, and it's not it's
100%
blatant.
Again, when was the last time you were going to go play some golf with your buddies? You're like, "I need to get the baby oil in my jean shorts."
Hey, babe, come to bed, but first put on your biker outfit, your man's biker outfit.
Again, if Defo from the tennis matches comes back with a bunch of pictures and they're both slathered up in baby oil and shirtless wearing jean shorts, I would be like, what's really going on with this?
I love Andy. You were like, well, trying to establish credibility. And he's like, look, once you brought Cocaine Bear, your credibility is good with us. And that's
okay.
true.
But no, I want people to go do their own research, particularly on this point. Because again, apparently we're all very worried about groomers. I'm not particularly worried about groomers because I don't think teachers are actually doing that. I think it's all nonsense.
I don't think you can.
But if you really are concerned about groomers, you really need to ask yourself, why the hell did I take my child to see Top Gun?
It's like you want to talk about teaching someone to be gay. Hello.
Again, the whole point was like glamorizing the lifestyle. Again, what glamorizes it more than Maverick and Iceman playing shirtless volleyball on the beach in their jean shorts?
I love the graduation. You're right. Like, your grandfather was in the military. It's not like you don't have a military background. Like, I'm sure you've been at events like this.
Well, but remember, he was a Marine, so he would feel the same way about the Navy.
But that's what I'm saying. But like, I've never heard of any graduation of any part of life look like a wedding, and a very effeminate wedding.
Yes, I 100% agree. I feel like that's where they rammed so to speak, where they rammed the point home.
Intentionally, pun intended.
No, that one really wasn't, but it just worked out that way.
Perfect. So this has been the professor's top 5 big board. Again, each and every week, whether you think he's pushing the envelope or not, he has carte blanche. Go for it. That was classic, and it was the truth. It wasn't even like stretching anything. It was anyone who's seen that movie, and the next one, I'm sure, which is getting rave reviews. The first one didn't. The first one was very well liked, but it was always well made fun of. This one's actually getting rave reviews by places that are somewhat credible when it comes to movies. And that's fine.
But who doesn't enjoy greasing up and playing some beach football with much younger men?
I mean, I don't, but each their own.
I don't really feel like in order to have sex with Jennifer Connelly, I would need those visuals first. But Maverick does, and we're okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Go for it, Maverick. Get yours, buddy.
Anyway, no. To reiterate, honestly, on the serious stuff, again, let's get the real stuff done, Florida. Let's get a real gambling compact in place so that we're not behind Ohio. Like, I felt deeply ashamed this week. I wasn't happy that we lost to Boston, but that's just a sports thing. It just makes me angry. When socially we fall behind the state of Ohio. Let's get our shit together, Florida. Like, it's gone too far now. And I don't care that we're not funding the Rays Stadium. I don't want to fund the Rays Stadium. I think that we do it because the Rays said something you don't like politically is really stupid. And again, doubly stupid because you're just bringing attention to it because nobody follows the Tampa Bay Rays Twitter. Nobody cares.
No.
But yeah, let's get the serious issues done. Whether it means making a change this fall or get it done before the fall, and maybe I'll change my mind on these issues. But yeah, we fell behind Ohio.
That's a lot.
Like
whatever we are, we usually are ahead of Ohio. We're always ahead of the curve when it comes to the professor's top 5 big board. We appreciate you each and every week, sir. Good luck on the USFL picks. Enjoy your weekend, and I'm sure we will talk. And thanks for jumping on once again here on the Defo Show on a Degenerate Friday.
Have a good one, Lubes.
Be well, my friend. That is the professor. I give him credit. He runs stuff by me as though he has to, and I'm like, dude, go for it. Classic. Whatever you do, you make us laugh each and every week. If you make people uncomfortable, that's on them. I don't really feel bad for them. That's sort of what we do here. We try not to do too much political, but when the world is what the world is, as Andy's statement says very succinctly there, you have to remark on it. And if one party is clearly trying to silence open-mindedness, and they are, and try and bring us back to the 1800s, are you sure? That movie is clearly the opposite of what you're saying when you talk about don't say gay. The idea of, first of all, saying the word gay doesn't make anyone gay. You can't indoctrinate gay. You can't groom. It's not like someone's like, you know what? I'm going to be gay today. Fuck it. That's not, did you decide to be straight? It doesn't work that way. It's not a choice. You are who you are. Believe me, I didn't want this voice. I didn't want to be this much of a raving lunatic. At some point, you are who you are, and that's okay. You have to accept who you are first, and screw the world for accepting you, but hopefully the world does. But if you're going to do all this stuff about don't say gay, have you watched Top Gun? Hello. You're not only saying gay, you're screaming it, and you're trying to make people gay. That's what that movie, and it's fine if you like the movie. I grew up liking Top Gun. I grew up thinking it's a classic, and I'm actually looking forward to the new one because all I've heard is really good things. But if you're screaming from the mountaintop, don't say gay, literally the movie, it's not subtle. The homoeroticism is... I've never done any of that stuff. I don't know what people did in the locker rooms in the 60s. It was different. I know my dad grew up and people were taking showers on their own, nothing sexual, just, you were okay being naked. I grew up, we didn't do that. We were more repressed, I guess. When we were middle school and high school, you were taking a French bath, you were putting on cologne, you weren't doing that. So I grew up in a different era, but we didn't use terms like this. We weren't all over each other. We weren't, the double entendres weren't homosexual ones. So, which again, it is what it is. It's cool. But don't then scream about gay, bad, gay. Don't talk about being gay when you're literally telling your kids, that's okay. which is fine. Good for you. You should accept all people. But then don't tell teachers to not say it if you're going to literally promote this movie that is screaming it. We live in a fun world. More fun coming up next. The one and only Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo. If you're anywhere, you can listen to a show and starting this week, watch it. The Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. It's on in South Florida, 1470 WWNN, 96.9 FM, 95.3 FM. Also, digitally, WWNNtalkradio.com. Also, you can check it out video-wise as well, and you'll know more about that as things come on. He's coming on here video-wise next. The Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo, the host of the Lunchbox, Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, each and every day, 12 to 1. I will be joining him there today. He's joining me here next. Again, thank you to the professor. He talks about that as like it's a theory that he made up. I've heard about the Top Gun homoeroticism thing forever. I mean, it's again obvious. Like whatever reason, the Navy. You always hear the jokes, the Navy, you know, homosexuality, whatever. Or I don't know about jokes, but like you've always heard whispers about it. I don't know if that movie's true to form. I don't know. I don't know too many Navy people, but that movie is very clear what it is. I mean, good or bad. I'm not judging it. It's just it is what it is. And I've heard the new one is Top Gun Maverick's really good, and I look forward to seeing that. And I look forward to everyone continuing to stay with us. Defo is in Italy. He's having an amazing time. I talked to him here and there. He's found WhatsApp finally. At 70 years old, almost in 2 weeks, he'll be 71. He's found WhatsApp. Look at him. And he's having a blast. He will be back early next week. And we will be back with you next, right here. We are an Ion Channel. It is a Defo show. No Defo, just Lubie. More with the Gambling Gourmet, Mike Mayo, coming up next.
Poker is your game. You're covered in style. And you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Catholic Health Services is committed to care that changes as your needs do. Our full continuum of services is designed to be there throughout your care journey. If you need assistance with daily living, post-acute care following a serious health event, or additional medical care at home, we also offer skilled nursing and palliative and hospice care. Your care needs may change, but our commitment never does. Catholic Health Services, South Florida's #1 choice for post-acute and end-of-life care. Visit CatholicHealthServices.org.
He'll fight Brian Cox in the locker room. He'll challenge Bill Parcells to a verbal shout-out. He'll stare down Johnny Chan while holding pocket twos.
And then he goes
Mike
to
Mayo,
the
the
London
Gambling
Business
Gourmet.
School for the savants.
How about that? Yeah.
I will crush
London
your
School
hopes
of
and
Finance.
dreams with it.
Mike
Oh,
Mayo, the Gambling Gourmet, joins us here.
I do all those things, and I also crush your hopes and dreams with a 3-word text giving you the bad news about game one.
Well, this was particularly brutal, and Michael, I thank you for doing that.
The modern day odd couple, Defo and Lubie, are on now. It is, of course, the Defo Show.
Good morning, one and all. Good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're watching us, listening to us, appreciate you finding us. This is the Defo Show. No Defo, just Lubie. And now joined by the one and only the Gambling Gourmet himself, Mike Mayo. Good morning, my friend. How you doing?
Good morning, Lubie. You are doing a tremendous job holding down the fort. It's good to see you this fine Friday morning. A little bit gloomy and rainy, but that's okay. I call this weekend is going to be perfect poker weather. So
Yes, perfect movie weather, perfect snuggle weather, perfect eat great food weather is what I feel like.
Speaking of movies, so I never saw Top Gun the original. I
Never.
was just
Really?
never was into that blockbuster stuff, and my daughter and ex Michelle, they went to see it last week, and they both loved it. But so I can't speak to the professor's thesis about the underlying homoeroticism, but all I know is this: that Tom Cruise in Hollywood is renowned for his really strong heterosexuality. So this is kind of shocking that there would be these underlying clients. And the other thing, just to clarify, I mean, just because you rub baby oil on when you're playing volleyball with a bunch of guys, that's not necessarily homoerotic or gay. Because when me and Defo go out to the track on Fridays, we lather up with cocoa butter and then we have a little nipple play too. So.
And like Seinfeld said, there's nothing wrong with that.
Not there's anything wrong with it. No, and then look, let's go to the subtext here. And you did get a little bit political here, and I'm not afraid to on this show because I don't have any sponsors to alienate. But the bottom line is, let's see what's going on. There are certain political elements in this country, the right wing political, the conservative base, that is going off on this, anti-gay grooming, bugaboo stuff that we thought has been relegated to the past. And we know what's happening is that they're reviving this because now that they have the conservative Supreme Court that's going to be overturning Roe versus Wade, they also want to overturn gay marriage, and they want to demonize gays and just to basically make it a threat again, which is really stupid because the overwhelming majority of people in this country not only know same-sex couples and support same-sex marriage, and they see how normal that it's better to have if they're so pro-family, wouldn't you support that people can have family units? And the people who are most guilty of grooming, and I say this from personal experience, not being on the receiving end, basically the people you have to be afraid of in terms of pedophilia are not people who are openly gay and comfortable in their sexuality, but people who are closeted and who are in positions of power and who sometimes are either in, I guess, areas of life where they're asexuality. I'm talking about the priesthood, where they have to be avowed celibate, or like scout leaders. And again, I was an Eagle Scout, and I saw some scoutmasters who behaved way inappropriately with kids. And you know who it was? It was ones who were married, the ones who were not. So this whole grooming thing, it's not the openly gay people to be afraid of. It's the ones who are lurking beneath the surface and trying to prey upon people who are helpless, younger, and the power dynamics don't favor them coming out and speaking when somebody is abusing them. So that's my public service announcement for the day.
Look, I'm not even, it's not about being political, and again, we have great sponsors that, from what I know, whatever they're at the side of the aisle, and we are friendly and work with people of all backgrounds. The one common ground for all of us is we love human beings, and we think people should have the right to live their lives. Again, we work with big businesses, right? So big businesses a lot of time may have a conservative leaning. They've never told us what to say or how to feel because they agree with us. Like my problem is I don't feel like I'm being political when you want to talk about taxes or you want to talk about how you fund things, welfare. That's political to me. Talking about human rights shouldn't be political. So that's why I don't mind talking about these things, because to me, it's not political. Like, I know plenty of people who are conservatives who don't, when it comes to social things, are open-minded, because social really aren't supposed to be political. Social things are supposed to be personal, not political. So that's why I don't mind. Defo and I will talk about these things, and we don't hammer in, and we'll move on to other things. There was a big game last night, and your Rangers are up 1-0, and the Avs are up 1-0, and Coco Gauff is making South Florida proud. So we'll get to all these things, South Florida. It's just funny. There's one party that says don't make things political, and that's all they do is make things political. And I think that's annoying to me. It's like, not everything has to be a debate. Some things every other country in the world has accepted abortion, accepted gay rights, accepted these things because they're focused on the actual things that affect our daily lives. Like, my daily life isn't affected by someone else's abortion.
Not every other country. Let me remind you, Russia is a little bit anti-gay at this point.
World, countries we compare ourselves to, for the most part, have accepted a lot of these things because, again, they're focused on making their country better. Education, healthcare, infrastructure, welfare. Like, these are things that we don't talk about because those are political. everyday life, things that they want to, certain groups want to make a part. Like, I don't care about what someone does in their home. That's not my
Look,
world.
when two people are in love, as long as it's
Oh, do
two
you?
human beings, I'm not talking about animals, bestiality, who can't give consent. I'm not talking about three people in polygamy. I'm talking about two human beings, and again, whatever combination you want, man and woman, man and man, woman and woman. Love is love, and I support family structures and family units, and if people want to get together and get married, I say God bless them. I'm divorced, so I've already been
You're
through
like,
that.
maybe you don't want to get married, but
but hey, and they have the right to get divorced too now, which is that's their own. Again, it's all about, like the founding fathers said, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. As long as you're not bothering others, what difference does it make?
Look,
So
you're allowed to have your political beliefs and your leanings and your opinions, and that's fine. That's what makes America great, and that's why I'm grateful for free press and freedom of religion and freedom of speech. But that doesn't mean it's my job to tell you how to live your life, and I hope you don't tell me how to live my life. Now,
Well,
what I wish would have happened last night, I wish the Warriors would have lived their best lives in the fourth quarter. That did
you're
not.
trying to pivot. I had one more laugh line here.
Go for it, go for it.
Lubie. Oh, yeah, no, it's just that. Well, first of all, that the I guess the next sequel to Top Gun is going to be called Bottom Bitch. But number two, it seems like there's, look, DeSantis is angling for the Republican nomination 2024. He's trying to just become as, and so he's leading this state that he's in charge of down this path. And I think you can sum up the whole philosophy is guns, not gays, and bullets, not bets. It's like they'd rather be in tow of just total subservience to the NRA and the Second Amendment crowd, even when it defies common sense and the will of most people to have common sense gun regulations. I'm not talking about gun control. I'm talking about gun safety. It's taking some common sense steps and tend to go out and punish a team that just basically uses their First Amendment rights, because remember, the Supreme Court ruled that corporations are people. So a corporate entity like the Tampa Bay Rays have a right to issue a statement about what they think is as far as the general welfare and what they think is important in their community. And then if he's going to start going around and punishing people based on statements and beliefs, I don't know where that leads. I mean, as a food critic, look, I might disagree with some of the political positions that are taken by different restaurants, and I know like Chick-fil-A is one of them. But I just judge a food place by the quality of the food and whether I like the taste. And I'll keep going there. And okay, maybe I don't like what they do with all their money, but I don't have the time or the inclination to research every restaurant corporation or every owner and who they're donating to, and then saying, oh no, I'm not going to go there, I'm going to go there. What you do as a citizen is you engage in the political process, and you go out, you register to vote, and you vote, and you vote in according to what you want. And anyway, we've gone off the rails. Let's skip back.
We've gone
to,
far off the rails, and it's okay. That's what we do on the Defo Show. That's why people wonder if we're a sports talk show or not, because we talk about everything. And I'm not going to change that when Defo's not here.
But I used to be a news guy. I was a news columnist for a long time. I was a sports columnist, and now I'm the food guy. And so I like to mix it up and talk about a little bit of everything. And talk about Tampa, by the way. I know, this just struck me in the middle of the last thing, but I hate that town. I hate that stadium, like he was saying, whatever it's called. Is it Tropicana Field or whatever?
They've never gotten a new sponsor because it's a freaking joke. It sucks.
So it's just called that ugly concrete slab in the middle of St. Pete. It's a hideous building. But then I was thinking, Tampa Bay is the most successful sports town in the U.S. in this decade or in the last few years, because it's you got the Bucks have won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady. Did they win a Super Bowl? I can't even remember.
Yes, and 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. You got the Lightning, who are the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. And you've got the Rays, who've had the success. They've been a really successful baseball team. And it's like, holy cow, they don't have a basketball team, but it's, how did this happen? Like, talk about the city that least deserves having this success. As bad and front running as the fans are here, I can only imagine that, they don't really have particularly rabid or knowledgeable sports fans there, but I'll just throw some shade on Tampa. They don't even know how to make a Cuban sandwich. Who puts salami on a goddamn Cuban sandwich? It's a sacrilege. It's a shanda, I tell you. It's a
It
shanda.
is a shanda. It is a shanda. This is the Defo Show, no Defo, just Lubie. We have the Gambling Gourmet Mike Mayo, and he has introduced a couple new sponsors as well. Visit Lauderdale and Coast's Greek Eatery. So I threw that up on there. Appreciate his litany of amazing sponsors, and they stick with him, and they're involved with us as well. So I appreciate everyone who supports everything.
And we don't want to forget Even Keel, because they've been tremendous for us. Even Keel Fish Shack and the
All up
Pizza
there for
Spot, and it's great to have support from people. And again, and it's good to have good. Again, go to any of these places, you're going to get a good meal at square price. So
actually, I didn't even think about it, because we did this yesterday on your show, and I'm sure we'll talk about it. But I've been privileged to be a part of it. How did last night go?
Oh, yeah.
The marketplace, the finals, they're going to get a new key. Okay, so let me ask you, and I'll do this on air, and I meant to do it off air. They're not getting a free booth, right? Like there were so many restaurants that wanted to get into the Sistrunk marketplace that they ended up doing a sort of TV style
competition, reality cook-off competition, with judges and rounds of tastings. And it was Final Four last night. They have not announced the winner yet.
Okay.
So I don't know. I haven't talked to Steve yet. It was really strong. I mean, everybody's food was good, and the crowd came out, and people were going around. We got to see how the different vendors in the Final Four handled getting food out when there's a blind of people in front of them. And it's going to be interesting what the ultimate judge. I don't know what the popular vote winner was. I know what some of the other.
I mean, what did?
Oh, no. I mean, overall, I tend to think that the winner might be the ones that we featured on the Lunchbox show yesterday, the Bahamian brother and sister duo, because they have a great personality and they have a good mix of products. There was one of the finalists was vegan, and the vegan food was excellent. I mean, she made a macaroni and cheese that was great, and then this jackfruit bao bun that made out of jackfruit, and then a crab cake that was a slider. All tasted really good. But some people are just squeamish about vegan and won't even go. It's going to be an interesting thing, because it's not just which food tasted the best, but which is going to be commercially viable. And they are going to be getting set up in a food booth at the Sistrunk Marketplace in Fort Lauderdale there, and it's a really neat spot. I mean, I was there, last night when there was other people besides people who bought tickets for this event. But there are people who are just, eating and drinking at the regular vendors that are open. They have really good, there's a good poke place. There's a good empanada place, great taco place. The pita place was great. And the Kaufner Brewery is really good beer. So it was good. It had a lot of life there, but it was not too big, and it's cozy, and it's got some good funky decor. So I'm a big fan of Sistrunk Marketplace now. And the eventual winner from last night, it's either this Nola Creations food truck, which is the Cajun Creole food,
that was great.
the Bahamian, the Island Maid, that's the brother and sister. They did this, conch salad that was delicious. This chicken in a bag. It was like some chicken and French fries. It was a grilled chicken with this spicy ketchup sauce that you could shake it up. It's really tangy, and you get a little messy. You open up the bag, and it's like Christmas in a bag. Ty said, and then the arepas, those were good too. And it's going to be neat to see who emerges. But I would give overall, if it was my choice, I'd say probably the Bahamian couple brought the whole package in terms of personality, diversity, food product flavors, and also he has his own rum that he could put in at the bar there and start selling that rum drink, those Bahama Mamas. That was very, very good. Look at us, Lubie. We've been talking news and food for 15 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to the end of the heat season. Last Friday, you were already writing them off, and I was saying, no, wait a second. I said I thought it was going 7. It did go 7. I thought Boston was going to win Game 7, but I wasn't willing to lay 3. It was actually what was it? 3 points.
I think it was like 2 on a hook.
No, it was 3, and they ended up winning by 4. They ended up covering, and I thought it should be no more than a 1 point or a pick'em spread.
It's close.
And I thought it was a sucker line. I just stayed away from it. But Meantime, here we are, and I've got my Rangers, and they look great. I want somebody to take down Tampa Bay, and the way that they got to Vasilevsky on the very first shot of the series to rattle him, and then to take that game 6-2, very encouraging. And I'm looking forward to tonight's game. And if the Rangers could go up 2-0, going back to Tampa, then they got a real shot.
Well, the Avalanche have been scary. I wanted to say one more thing there, and we'll definitely move on to sports. I promise we'll get our sports in. It's funny, Defo and I, everyone always jokes that, the food critic has the best job. You were a sports writer, news writer, and then became a renowned food critic to the point where you run one of the bigger food groups, at least in South Florida, when it comes to
Let's Eat South Florida. 80,000 strong. Yes, Let's Eat South
that
Florida.
spawned as your baby, and even though you're still not officially with us on Sentinel, you used to run it, do most of it, and it's really blossomed under.
And let's not forget, Best of Delray Beach also has its own Facebook group now. That's over 5,000 people in that. I'm proud of, because it's just one community, and it's again a lot of food centric, food stuff and some other community stuff, but in conjunction with this Best of Delray Beach app that you could download now at Best of Local. If anybody goes up to the Delray area or Boca, we've got a whole restaurant and nightlife guide that you can find on the Best of Local app. Download Google Play and the App Store, available now.
So but everyone always jokes, wow, that's the best job. That's the best job. And I'm sure it is, but being around you, not only here, but actually doing the shows with you, seeing you do your critic thing. One thing I find interesting, and it's something, not to peel the curtain back too much, but you talked about it off air with Nikki Mohan and myself. And I find interesting, people hate critics, right? Critics are usually mean. We were with the Fat Boys last week on the Lunchbox, and they talked about sort of when you did years ago a critique you did that you actually felt bad about. But what's funny is even one that you felt bad about, they used, it made them better, and they're better for it. You talked to the Bahamian brother and sister. You liked their food. And you talked to the NOLA Creations group. You liked their food, but you were honest with them off to the side because you didn't want to embarrass them, but you knew you could help make them better. You weren't obnoxious about it, but you felt for them. And sometimes when you're in the middle of things, you can't see it. And I actually think I appreciate, and I think it's pretty cool that you felt not the need, you felt to be generous enough to talk to them. And you said, literally, you could see them listen to you, whether they liked it or not, take it, and then their food improved from it. So I think that's cool, that to be able to understand things enough, because the problem is anyone can criticize. It's being able to criticize in a way where people listen and use it. And I think that's impressive. And I've sort of been in awe of that. Wow, I don't even know how to help people grow. The fact that both sides of it, you are able to do it, and then these restaurants actually take it to heart and get better for it. It's sort of cool for me to see with my own eyes.
See, I don't pretend to know everything or even anything. I'm just a guy with an opinion, and food is so subjective. I mean, that's one of those things. But, there are certain things that you could pinpoint, whether something is too salty or too sweet, or so you could talk, to, people in the business about certain things. And, there's two types of people out there. There's know nothing critics, and these are the people on Yelp who are not really professional critics, but they just go on there and they put a place on blast because the takeout order that was delivered by a third-party app got there late and it was the wrong food. Well, that's not necessarily somebody's fault, but it's you can't really fairly judge a restaurant based on a delivery. If you're going to be lazy, go out to the restaurant, sit down and eat and get your experience there. And that's a fair representation. But number two, and then again, people use these hollow adjectives like, oh, that place was terrible. Well, why? What was terrible about it? Was it the food? Was it the service? So you got to be specific. But the thing that I try to do in my critic's role is always, like you said, it's if you're going to not say that something wasn't to your liking, say why and offer some sort of constructive criticism. Now, not every place takes a bad review well. And I've had some chefs, come after me and still despise me and whatever. I can't help that. I always try, but I'm always try to be fair. And I always would, when I was writing for the Sentinel, and that was a big responsibility because you got people's businesses and livelihoods and other people's jobs on the line. I know if you don't want to just shred a mom and pop, and I never did shred mom and pops. I would just not write the review. But if it's a big corporate outfit that has a big budget and is in a beachfront hotel, they're kind of fair game if they're not putting out a good product for big money. But again, what I would always try to do is just be fair and talk to them before the review was published. And I didn't sandbag anybody. I'd always tell them straight up, this was good about this and this. What was going on here? How come, this night maybe it didn't turn out so well? And then, and again, in the case of Fat Boys, the first review, and I've reviewed them 2 times because when they opened up in Coral Springs, I went back and I was blown away by how good everything was. And the first one was at their original Deerfield location, and it was right after Hurricane Irma, and there was some extenuating circumstances. And I didn't think it was, it was one of the few times where I didn't think I was being fair and even writing the review at that point. But I did. And, some of the things were basically just because of the circumstances that week. Some of the things, again, what Jarrell said is that he took it to heart, like the corn muffins that he used to put out. He's embarrassed by it now when he sees a picture of it because he knows it wasn't good. And now he makes this corn jalapeno bread.
Spectacular. So
yeah, he makes this jalapeno cornbread that he basically went out, and after I wrote what I wrote, he set out to make something better, and he did. And that is, I wish every restaurant was like that. Not that I'm always 100% correct about all my opinions, just 95% of the time. That's
Well, I'm usually, I would say 80% wrong when it comes to my sports opinions. And so far, when it came to the Heat, I said Heat in 7. Injuries or not, I was wrong. It was Celtics in 7. And I said the Warriors would win this series. I said if I was gambling, I'd say they would win in 6, but I felt like it could go 5. Last night hasn't changed my opinion on the series at large, but it did change I was wrong last night. Like I thought I would have taken the Warriors last night.
Now you said the national media is all in love with the Celtics. Has anybody picked the Celtics? Because everybody that I saw, like going into the series, what I saw and read, everybody's picking the Warriors. So
I'm not to build a straw man. I've seen for the most part people picking the Warriors, but I have talked to different NBA people who have told me they have seen others pick the Celtics, and they were sort of agreeing with me where they could see the games be tough. They could see the series, go 6 games, but they all felt the Warriors would win. I haven't seen with my eyes, but I have heard a few people leaning Celtics, and they're trying to make a case for the Celtics. And look, you saw it last night. I mean, the Celtics are in this series.
Here's what I did, okay? Because for the second time this playoff season, and I'm 0-1 now because I owe you and Defo dinner from my outlandish prediction that the Panthers would go down in the first round. Okay, so I was proven wrong. They barely got out past the number 8 seed. They'll only get swept and just look absolutely pathetic and impotent and any other adjective you want to use against the Lightning. And now the Lightning we're seeing is maybe not invincible because the Rangers beat them handily in the first game. So, that doesn't necessarily reflect well on the Panthers and their pathetic sweep, getting swept out of the playoffs. But the bottom line is I was 0-1. Last night, I have a feeling the way everybody was like saying, oh, the Warriors are going to win, the most talented, blah, 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 home court advantage. It's like, not so fast. The Warriors they've had kind of a cakewalk. They haven't had really that much of a battle to get here. And I always like when you're in the playoffs, teams that have had to really fight and get through some tough outs and get those teams out. And they earn my respect. The Celtics, they beat the Bucks, and the Bucks, pretty good team. And it went 7 games, but they got past them. The Heat, for all their injuries, they're still a gritty team and a tough out. And, the Celtics, it went down to the wire. They were in control most of the games, but they won on the road to beat the Heat. So I give them respect, and they're one of those teams that's like they're greater than the sum of their parts. You look at everything, and maybe there's not the greatest superstar, but somehow they're getting things done. They're showing toughness. So last night I sent out a text to my man Dickstein up in Delray Beach, best of Delray, and I said, "Hey, Dickstein, what's your prediction for the series?" He goes, "Warriors in 6," and I said, "I think Celtics in 7." We've laid down a bet, and actually this time I learned from my past mistakes. Lubie, I got odds. I'm getting $125 and I'm going to give him 100. Nice. So, and I passed out at the end of in the middle of the second half last night. And I woke up after the game and I rewinded it and I said, oh, wow, that was pretty. They crushed them in the fourth quarter. And, so they got hot to do that on the road in a game 1 against a team that was supposedly going to be, smoking them at home. Well, that gives me some confidence. So I'm feeling pretty good now about my plus 125 bet for the Celtics to win the series. You're right. Maybe the Warriors come back and win in 6 or 7, but this is going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a battle.
It's going to be more of a battle than I thought. I attribute it. You're sort of not wrong. The way the Warriors sort of fell flat in that fourth quarter, that's the one thing I've said about the Celtics all postseason. It's the one thing that nipped the Heat in the bud or the butt, whatever the expression is, that the Celtics don't go, like, you'll see the Heat have these stretches of, where they sort of lose their mind. The Warriors have done that for 8 years now during this run. The Celtics don't. They don't always score a lot. They don't always get stops, but they play hard all game. They don't have these lapses of effort.
And that's the East Coast mentality. They play defense and they're tough and
well, and they've had wars. They've had to. They couldn't afford to. They're not as good as these other teams. And I think with that, talent doesn't always win. We know that in sports, and they've had to overcome talent deficiency. And the Warriors have the opposite. They're so talented that a lot of the time they'll sort of sleepwalk. And they're going to do that in this series. They're not going to win like that. I
didn't see the fourth quarter, so I don't know exactly what happened. But if the Celtics were shooting that hot, does that mean the Warriors just were not playing tenacious D and they just weren't in their face, or what happened?
What the professor will say, and he's right, even if you're open, doesn't mean you're going to hit 75% from three. So the Celtics had to make the shots. So don't get me wrong. Like Horford was 6 of 8 from three. Derek White was 5 of 8 from three, and I don't think either of them missed their threes in the fourth. Marcus Smart, I know, made at least 2 to 3 3-pointers at the end that closed the end of the game. So that was to the Celtics' credit. But if you watch the threes, they were all wide open. To me, that's to the detriment of the Warriors. And a lot of it, the effort thing is a stupid thing sports people say because you can just say it and no one can really call you on it because you can't quantify effort. But again, if we've all played and watched sports, you can see when a guy's running out the 3-point shooter and when a guy's not. If you take a chance to watch the fourth quarter. It was, as a guy who's been so pro Warriors, not even from a fan standpoint, but just from a looking at basketball standpoint, I sat there shaking my head going, okay, one team's playing really hard. One team is sort of sleepwalking.
Right.
You can't do that in the finals.
You got to bring some intensity, especially against the, Eastern Conference team that has been through these battles and they're tough. Yeah.
So you don't just implemented that with the Celtics. Before we get out of here, I do want to touch on Coco Gauff beat Swiatek.
Yeah.
She will be in the French Open final tomorrow. You have the men's Nadal taking on Zverev, and Cilic is on Ruud. You cover tennis, so you're even closer to tennis than I am. I know it's been a little bit of a while, but you still talk to Sarny, so I'm sure he doesn't let you, Mr. Jim Sarny doesn't let you forget about tennis. So before we end the week, Jim, we will talk a little tennis in the last 2 minutes. Golf there, South Florida's child gone.
Yeah. Delray Beach. I mean, she was technically born in Atlanta when her dad was going to school at I don't know if it was Georgia Tech or somewhere, but she grew up here in Delray Beach and has a lot of family and connections, and it's absolutely spectacular to see her at the age of 18. And this is her deepest run yet in a Grand Slam event. She had previously just only made it to, I believe, the quarterfinals a couple of years ago at age 16. So, is she ready for this moment? Is she ready to win? I don't know, but it's going to be exciting to find out. It's going to be on NBC tomorrow morning. Is that 9 a.m. or I'm not quite sure. I think 9 a.m. on NBC. I don't know if there's any watch parties in Delray. I'm going to try to find out today. I think we should dispatch Defo and have him just drop anything he's doing in Rome and just hightail a flight to Paris. And he should go out there and be our Defo show lunchbox correspondent of the French Open, and that would make Jim Sarny one very happy tennis fan.
And before we go, you can check this gentleman each and every day, Monday through Friday from 12 to 1 on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, 1470 AM down here, 95.3, 96.9 FM, and also digital, just like us, WWNNTalkRadio.com. Today, I will be joining him, but usually it is Defo. Mr. Mayo, we appreciate you joining us this morning. And I will talk to you in a few hours, my friend.
See you at noon. Thanks a lot, Lubie.
You will, Mayo, man. Thank you so much. This has been the Defo Show without Defo, with Lubie, all week long. Appreciate everyone. I still think the Warriors rebound. I think they are the better team. And I think in basketball, we've seen talent usually does rise to the top. I don't know what the fourth quarter was. It was the Celtics being hot and the Warriors falling asleep. I presume that won't happen again. We've seen them again do that their entirety of this 8-year run. And I don't think they're going to go out like that. In the past, the only time they've ever really fallen was when injuries or Draymond getting suspended or Durant being hurt, Clay being hurt. I think you're going to see Draymond wake up. 4 points ain't going to do it. I think Curry was great in the first quarter. I think he had 21 or 23, 24 points, and he ended up with 35. So that means the rest of the game he didn't do anything. And Jordan Poole has been huge for them all playoffs, had 9. So I think you're going to see, and yeah, Tatum had 12, but everyone else played way above their head for the Celtics. As we talk about people regressing and rising to the mean, I think that's what we'll see Sunday. I'm going to stick to mine, Warriors in 6. I'm not changing that. And I think we'll see a 1-1 going back to Boston. But who the heck knows? I hope you have a great weekend. Go Coco Golf. And I appreciate everyone who's checked out us this entire week. You can check me out on the Believe Network. We had an interesting conversation with Jeremy M. Evans, a sports attorney, yesterday after hours. Believe, BLEAV.com. Talked NIL, talked a lot about Deshaun Watson from the legal standpoint, which we haven't really done. So I enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully you check it out. You can check out our South Florida content, the 5 Reasons Sports Network on YouTube. And each and every day, just Google the Defo Show, DEFO. Plus, we are podcasted anywhere you get your podcasts. The Defo Show with Lubie is there. Have a great weekend, everyone. Defo will be back Tuesday. I'll be back Monday. We'll check you out then.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.